3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of Ash on Comics. I'm Ash, and I got with me Stan the Man. It's going to help me out doing my new review of Nightwing 59. Beware the fiery hand of Burnback. Who the hell's Burnback? So, this is the first issue of Nightwing with Jurgens at the helm. He's taken over from Scott Lobdell, who I believe only did a fill-in arc. I think someone was doing it before. And this series has become kind of controversial because of what happens to Dick Grayson, now going by Rick Grayson. He was shot in the head in Batman and lost all his memory. He lost all of his memory in the last 15 years. So he's got his childhood memories and things like that, but he doesn't have any memory of becoming Robin or Nightwing or anything like that. Now he has discovered through this period of time that muscle memory and things have not gone away. So he still has his athletic skills and his fighting skills and things like that. And during the storyline, he didn't want to be a hero anymore. Or not that he didn't want to anymore, he didn't know the drive to be a hero. He only knew that he once was because people had told him, but he didn't feel it, so he's like, that's not the path I want. He decides to walk a different path, which was kind of interesting and from a certain point of view, I guess. Now, a lot of fans really balked at this. They were just like, stupid, why are you calling him Rick Grayson? He doesn't want to be a hero anymore. What's going on with this? Now, I was never a fan of Nightwing. Not because I read lots of Nightwing and decided I didn't like him. I was kind of just looked at him and I was like, this is not doing it for me. I never really liked the concept of Robin to begin with. So Nightwing just kind of represented that. Now, I did think he was cooler than Robin because he wasn't Robin anymore. And I was like, okay, well, fine. Robin grows up and becomes his own man. But what I didn't really like about Nightwing was that I just kind of felt like he was just Robin in a new suit. I always thought if Robin was trained by Batman and then grew up to be an adult and doing his own thing, he would kind of become more of his own man. He would become kind of like a Batman in and of himself. Maybe not exactly like Batman, but Red Hood is a good example. Red Hood is a former Robin, but he now has this identity that doesn't feel like Robin. He's moved on. He's going to be his own thing. Nightwing never really felt like that. Nightwing always just felt like, I'm still Robin. I got a new suit. I don't call myself Robin, but essentially I do exactly all the same things, and I don't know. It just never rang true to me. Now, this is not an insult to people who love Nightwing. There's lots of fans of Nightwing, and they're pretty passionate, and they're the ones that typically hate what's going on here. Now, I was the opposite. Because of that, when he got shot in the head, it kind of made it interesting to me. I was like, here's an opportunity for Nightwing to evolve, to become something more, for him to rediscover what he is and what he wants to be. And this is a good catalyst for that to happen. And I never really understood all the hatred behind this. Oh, it's stupid. I was like, but they broke Batman's back and everyone was fine with that, So this is kind of Batman's back breaking for me for Nightwing. I want to see how he overcomes this. Now, the first story arc, I think, was handled okay. Scott Lobdell's an industry veteran. He doesn't always soar with his writing, but he doesn't really drop the ball either. So he was able to deliver 6 or so, 7 issues of just decent stuff. But the problem was Rick Grayson running around going, I'm Rick Grayson, and I just drive a cab and I don't want to be Nightwing, is not really appealing to Nightwing fans. You have to wrap this up. So I was getting a little bit tired of it because I didn't see it going anywhere until they brought in the Nightwings. And then I was like, ooh, this is interesting. I wonder where they're going to go with that. So that's these 3 cops and a guy who busted out of the academy, became a firefighter. So it's 4 guys. They find Nightwing's old uniforms and they put them on because Nightwing's missing. He hasn't been around. And so they're here to fill the void that he left. And they're sort of like wannabe Nightwings. And even though they're not as good as he is, there's 4 of them instead of 1, so blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they finally cross paths with the real Nightwing. They still don't know he's really Nightwing. He helps him out, and that story rounds up with him, with Rick Grayson, deciding, I want to help you guys permanently. I'm going to join like your team. Even though he still hasn't fully committed because he won't wear a suit. I don't get this. Now, I think this is interesting. I really saw this as an opportunity for Nightwing to evolve and have a team, a 5-man team essentially of these vigilantes in Bloodhaven running around, and could be interesting. Like it could force him now to be the alpha male. He's always been in Batman's shadow. He's always been listening to Batman. He's always, he's never been the guy in the captain's chair. Even when he's filling in for Batman, it feels like he's just filling in for Batman. I always wanted to see him just finally leave the nest, so to speak. All right, that was a big lead into this. So I decided when Jurgens was going to take over, I was like, I need to give that a chance. Jurgens is a big industry veteran. He's a good writer. I want to see what Jurgens is going to do with this. So this is the first issue. Oh, God. And here we start off. Bring it. And we see Malcolm Hutch. None of these guys have been given, code names yet. So we'll see how this goes. And they're sparring off with Rick Grayson. And for some reason, Rick doesn't want anyone to know anything about his past or whatever. And Malcolm's just like, what, there's something more to you. You're obviously too much of a badass just to be some normal guy. And then Rick's like, I've just picked up my, my fighting skills here and there, blah, blah, blah. He's just passing it off. And then he even, as they're sparring, gives Malcolm an opportunity, to feel good, doesn't wipe the floor with them. So he's actually playing down to his skill level so that he doesn't look too good. And I'm just like, what? This is weird. Because this guy needs to be in control. These guys have really good intentions. Thanks, dogs. Thanks. But they're total noobs, and they're in way over their heads. And you have essentially Batman here who could train them right, but he can't train them because he's hiding the fact that he's, pseudo Batman. It's awkward. So, here we just get more sparring, and it's some good dialogue. One thing I liked about this is the writing. Not so much the plot or anything, but Jurgens is a veteran, so he writes like one, and the dialogue doesn't come off forced. It doesn't come off cheesy or self-impressed like a lot of modern writers. That's not. No one's trying to have quippy sitcom snap. Ooh, I'll tell you what, I'm sassy. It's just two guys, and it feels like comic book heroes talking. And I like that. It just felt like a classic comic. If you like old school kind of 80s style stuff, this feels like a Daredevil in the 80s type of. And I use that reference because I'm a big Marvel guy, so I can't really call back what it feels like in DC in the 80s. But it has that real, just straightforward. I love the inner monologue boxes, what the characters are thinking, what drives them. And so this guy, he can't become a cop because something bad happened, and we get a little bit of that backstory. I find it interesting, and this only happens in comic land, right, where firefighter guy is turned into master acrobat superhero within a matter of issues. But you have to, right? Comic time doesn't really move very fast, so you just sort of have to turn away and not address the elephant in the room that this would take decades, but now he's going to learn in a couple weeks and he'll be a master, just is the way it goes. Just, you kind of have to. So here he is visiting his old sergeant, just training man guy, and he's in a coma, and he's part of the reason why. We don't know the details. And the nurse is like, you got to get out of here. And he's like, I'll just be a minute, and this is the anniversary of the day that it happened. And finally, the leader of the four, the cops, Sapenzia. God, modern comics always give their characters like weird names. Not that that's a weird, it's uncommon names. Like, it used to just be simple names like Parker, Kent. It's real easy. Now it's I can't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Sapienza. So I don't know what that is. So here we have the daughter. She's like, oh my God, that's a bug. Get out of here. She's like pissed off, pretty cliche type thing. And so she blames the police and everyone. She's full of hatred. And so they're just leaving and paying their respects and just trying to, keep their head down, eat crow. Now, later on, we see Rick Grayson's bartender girlfriend giving him a cell phone. Okay. And there's a fire going on. So he's like, I gotta go help. But you aren't a firefighter. Why do you think it's your job to help everyone? That's a good question. Why are you resisting being Nightwing, but you want to help everyone? And then he's like, my skills. If people are in trouble, it's always my job to help. Right. And if you feel that way, maybe you should just embrace it. Hopefully, Jurgens will get to the point of this. Like, I understand that he can't transition this into one issue. I'm hoping over a couple of issues, we finally just get over this Rick Grayson walking in this, self-pity and whatever. This conflict, it's getting old. It's tired. You've realized, obviously right here, it's like, it's always my job to help. The hero within. This is who you are. It's time for you just to be like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to embrace it. So he meets up with Malcolm here. I will never get used to the way you show up out of nowhere, kid. Years of ninja training will do that. Ninja training? Really? Kidding. There should have been a bubble, like a inner monologue said, not really. Whoa, worse than I expected. Way worse. They're talking about the fire, and of course he's a fireman, so he knows stuff, and they're like, oh, they're going to go down, and this is a little unbelievable, two guys. And this is weird, too. It's like, he's wearing the Nightwing costume, and this is just like dude in jeans with stuff. It's like, what? The firemen are like, you're going to get hurt going in there. Like, I think they would probably physically try to stop him, maybe? I don't know how that would work. But they go in, and since he's a fireman, he's got some breathing tools. I don't think firemen actually have these particular type of thing. Maybe they do. So that's the police station that's on fire. And they start hearing, like, the fire's talking. And he's like, it's as though the flames were alive. Dun, dun, dun. Everyone burns. You were saying? And you get this big reveal. And this is a classic comic book. Oh, shit. And stay tuned next time, kids, for burning down the house. And that's it. Now, this is a solid issue. It's the first issue of Dan Jurgens picking up the pieces of Nightwing, which has been pretty much left just shattered on the floor. He wasn't given a ton to work with, so now Jurgens has to clean up the mess, if you will. And it should be obvious to anyone reading comics or whatever like that you can't do that in one issue. So I'm not going to criticize any of that controversy that I addressed in the beginning. I'm just going to address where the book is. Now, for where the book is, where it was left off, this was a solid issue. I did address some points that I was tired of this, but that's like an overall story type thing. Jurgens' writing was very refreshing. Scott Lobdell is, like I said, a solid writer. I liked him back in the day, but he was never like an excellent writer. And Dan Jurgens has had moments of excellence, and I do feel like he's going to be an improvement on the series. This artist I'm not too familiar with, but at first I was like, this is not my style. It's really too sloppy feeling, I guess. It's like not clean lines. I'm more of like, like the Jim Lee, real clean art, which is strange because Frank Miller is also one of my favorite artists, and he's really chunky and what's his name? Chris Mooneyham, right? Is that Chris? Where's the freaking credits? Yeah, Chris Mooneyham. But I really like it. I like when it is like when you over stylize it and when you over exaggerate, that chunky style somehow works for me. Like I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's when you draw like this and you're trying to be super right on and not stylistic that it bugs me. So I don't know if I'm describing that correctly. So like this pose is just not a humanly possible pose, but it looks like such a cool comic pose. This really looks like something out of TMNT, the way Eastman would draw something. There's a little bit of John Romita Jr. in the faces, and I'm a big John Romita Jr. fan. It really kind of, there was something about it. So as I was reading the books, I went from going, oh, I'm not going to like this guy, to, yeah, I'm having fun. So that's going to obviously be your thing. Like, art is subjective. I can talk about the craft of it, but ultimately it's going to be your subjective reaction to whether it just appealing to your eye or not. So I liked it. Solid B. A B minus based on what's happening. But, baseball terms, base hit. Nothing out of this world. It's got room to grow. I'm going to pick up the next issue, which is really the ultimate grade. Everything about this is standard quality comics. I mean, Dan Jurgens probably should be an editor. He just has all the skills. I don't even think anyone could edit him at DC. I don't know if there's anyone qualified, to edit him, because just editors aren't like what they used to be. Editors used to be masters of the comic craft and knowing and teaching, just touching on what I'm just barely touching on here. He knows. And anyways, 17 minutes. I've talked this one to death. It's solid. If you didn't completely hate the previous Nightwing books, then this is an upswing. I think this is going to go somewhere. I'm going to pick up the next book and give it a shot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Time for another Jail 8 webcomic. Strip number 26 by Yale Stewart. Well, it was fun walking home with you, Bruce. Yeah. Hey, Clark. Hey, Dad. See you at school tomorrow. Hello, Bruce. Hey, Mr. Kent. So how was your first day back, son? Oh, Dad, it was crazy. I can't wait to tell you and Mom at dinner. I can't wait. Oh.